Hi, I'm Mike,
And I'm Jenna.
and we are part of the Rural Montana family. And the two of us are going on a road trip to camp in Yellowstone National Park. Let's go! It is already the 5th day of our Yellowstone trip. That means we've been here for 4 days. And we've been cruising around Yellowstone National Park quite a bit. Actually, the first day we did the lower loop of the park. If you're not familiar with Yellowstone at all, there's basically one main road, and that is more or less a figure 8, maybe squished a little bit in the middle. There's not just one intersection, there's actually a west side and the east side intersection. But you could say it's a figure 8 or two O's on top of each other squished down a little. So, and all the roads from each entrance pretty much lead straight in and connect to that figure 8. And so we done the lower loop and we located some of the chargers, did some video for another video, and then on the second day we actually went hiking. We did a 6-mile hike to the back country to a lake there, so that was kind of cool. And yeah, we've been just cruising around. Actually, yesterday we spent in West Yellowstone, so we were hanging around 25 to 50% of charge. We just charged in stations wherever we found. They're all level 2. There's no DC fast charging here. So yesterday we actually spent the entire day in West. Well, the entire day. We didn't get up so early, so we didn't get to West till about noon, and we stayed there till 9 p.m. and we had 100% charge at that point. And it showed, if I remember correctly, it was 365, I believe. Maybe it was 368 miles max. So that's pretty darn cool. And the average was still at 315. I don't remember what the minimum was, but it was pretty huge. So now today, let's look at this. We still got 326 miles there. At 90% showing, 277 miles average, and a minimum of 227. So that is pretty cool. And let's look here. 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. This has been going up steadily since we got here, because the speed limit in the park is 45 miles an hour. So we're climbing and climbing. We always have a drive back to Island Park and then obviously back to Yellowstone in the morning. That's about 40 miles, 45 miles roughly, at 65 miles an hour. But the 45 miles an hour in the park is what brings this average up so high. And you can see we already have 745.4 miles. We got here with about 300 miles, so we drove over 450 miles, or we drove about 450 miles since we're here. So we're putting quite a few miles on, even though yesterday we didn't even really drive much. And this is all on level 2 charging. And I would say, other than maybe yesterday, it was never inconvenient. Yesterday, we just decided to hang out till we get 100% in West Yellowstone. And so we had to spend a little more time in West than we really wanted to. There was a lot of people there. It's summertime. There's a lot of traffic. Usually when we're here in the wintertime, there's hardly anybody around, so it's much quieter. So there's a lot of people, a lot of traffic, and not necessarily our favorite spot to hang out. So we did a little 2-mile hike yesterday as well, just to get out. But overall, we had to hang out and kind of wait to get to 100%, because the plan today is to drive up north and go to Gardiner, and then charge up there again on level 2. And from there, we're trying to get up to I-90 to Livingston, and then go back towards Bozeman, And we don't know exactly how far we're gonna get or what we're gonna do or how we're gonna do today. But just because of that, I wanted to have a full charge just to be on the safe side. It was easy to do yesterday. There are level 2 chargers on the road, on the way. There's one in Livingston that we could definitely access. And I believe there's another one in Bozeman. Actually, the Bozeman Harley dealer has a 25 kilowatt DC fast charger, so we could get some there. And then once we make it to Butte, we have the DC fast charger in Butte, and from there we can make it home definitely on a full charge, even at the high speed limits in Montana. So now we're about to leave Island Park, drive over to West, get into the park, and start driving up north. And probably you'll get to see more in Gardiner or later on today. So as we'll be traveling today, maybe camp one more night, maybe not. So will be maybe 1 or 2 more days to get home. So look at this. This is one of the very, very few times we actually get the Chevy app to come up. And so we have it on Apple CarPlay, so it's showing here on the screen. Throughout the time I have been making videos, several people mentioned that you can see the actual state of charge on the screen, but the only way to do so is right now it shows 80%, and that's correct. When you're actually in the app, it will show you each percent, not by 5% steps. But you got to bring the app up on the screen either via Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And so we're lucky it just happened to pop up today, but it will be gone here just in a couple miles, because the app really only seems to work while you're having good reception. As soon as the reception is mediocre, pretty low, it doesn't work right anymore. And where we're going, there will be no reception most of the time anyway. But yeah, the only way to see the actual battery state of charge percentage is via the app. But that doesn't really work when you really need it, because when you really need it, then there's no cell phone reception. just came back from our walk at Mammoth Hot Springs, and as you probably can hear, the fan is going pretty good. We are still plugged in at the charger here, getting about 5 kilowatts while the AC is going. We intentionally set the temperature a bit low. The car heated up because it's sunny outside, so we're cooling it down real quick while we're still plugged in. And then most likely, since it's still not super warm outside, it shows 64 degrees, we probably can then keep going with the windows open since we now cooled it down. And because we're plugged in and using the AC, we're not using any power from the battery, so we keep our range the same, and this only takes about 3 minutes, so no big deal, sitting 3 minutes in the car before we get going. I'm here in Gardiner, Montana, which is the north entrance to Yellowstone National Park. We're just outside the park. Behind me there you can actually see the Roosevelt Arch. So that's kind of almost where it all started, right here. And right here is Yellowstone Forever, and they provide 2 chargers. As you can see, my blue Chevy Bolt right over there. There's 2 Chase 1772s right there. One of the spots is iced currently by this van, but the cords are plenty long, as they are on all these chargers around here and in the park, so it can reach one spot over pretty easy. So this is another place to charge while you're traveling Yellowstone National Park. Just finished charging in Gardiner. We didn't even charge to full, but you can see we got 375 now. It was at 385 when we started max, and you can see we got 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour average. This will change now because now the speed limits are going to be high again. Here on this highway it's already 70, it may go up to 75. And in about 80 miles or so we'll hit the interstate, and then it will be 80 from there on all the way home, and that average will drop rapidly again. is already not looking good. I need to get closer. Gosh dang it. I'm too far away with the short car. What is going on? It's not charging. Vehicle timeout, really? Just pulled in Butte at the Electrify America charger. Actually it's Rocker, just a little bit past Butte coming from the east. So we have 25, oh now it's already 26, it's charging already. Left 25 average or 26 average, 21 minimum, 30 max. So we cut it a little close, but no big deal. And we're charging at 51 kilowatts right here. The average is a little down, only down to 4.2 actually, so not too bad. We haven't been going too fast on the interstate. We've been going 65 to 75 depending on the traffic mainly. We took it a little slower. So our last charge was in Gardiner, Montana, and we were probably about 90% percentage right there. We had plenty of miles to make it here at slow speeds, but at the higher speeds it was eating up the miles pretty quick on the range. So but we made it, and by going a little bit slower we did not have to stop anywhere and charge. And that was good, because I think we even are going to drive home today. We didn't really know what the plan was as we started today, but now it's about 8:30ish at night, and we'll see how long it will take here to get to a decent charge. And then it's about 2 hours to get home from here, so we'll be home probably 11 p.m. maybe midnight-ish, something like that. But that's probably the easier way to go than pitching the tent for one night, since we're relatively close to home. It's only about 150 miles to home from here. So, but we did a couple detours. So we went to the Ringing Rocks, just east of Butte, and then in Butte itself we picked up some food at Pork Chop John's, which has been recommended to us before, and we were there one time a couple of years ago and it was pretty tasty stuff. So we went back and picked up some food, so we'll be eating right out here. We're set up with our chairs and we'll have some pork chops for dinner, and we'll get going as soon as we get a decent amount of juice in the car. We are just about done charging. Shows 99% out there on the charger, and now the miles are a little lower because over the last 30 or so miles we've been going a little faster, so the range came down quite a bit. Still looking good, but that range will possibly drop a little more as we get going here. We're still plugged in. I actually cranked the heater up. Now it's a little chilly outside, it's 61, so we crank the heater up while we're plugged in, and so we're still getting about 12 now. Now it drops a little bit, depends on how much the heater is actually putting out. If we crank that up, you can see now the heater kicked in, and so we're taking some of the energy away from the battery, and the last percent will take a little longer, but we're heating the cabin up so that once we get on the road, the cabin is already warm, everything inside is warm, and then we can keep the heat low and not use much for heating at all, go a little faster, and hopefully get home maybe, well, it is 10:02, maybe just past midnight. So we're just waiting. We're letting this go a little bit here. I don't really care if we actually hit the 100%, but we want to definitely warm up the car interior before we get going. Oh, there it shows 100%, so now it's stopped anyway. We're full. Now we want to turn the heat down to something. We'll turn the AC off. So we'll leave it on automatic and just set it about there for right now. And there's still charge coming. We're still showing 10 kilowatts there, even though we got 100% charge showing according to that on there, and same here. So, but now that it's warm in here, we'll get going. Good morning. We are back at home finally. We actually made it about 12:15 in the night, middle of the night. But we were too tired and decided to just go to bed instead of film. So, and now it's about 9 in the morning, and we'll look at the stats here real quick. So we drove from Gardiner, where we had, I believe, about 90%, if I remember correctly. And we got home here with about 30% left. So about 66 miles average. We could have gone further, or we could have gone a little faster. We actually only drove about an average of 75 miles per hour on the interstate, which was just fine, not going too fast at night. Around here, and basically in Montana, there's still a chance to hit deer or elk on an interstate. So our trip totaled 1,143.6 miles, and for the entire trip we averaged 4.0 miles per kilowatt hour. This came actually out better than I expected. Probably one reason is that I didn't go 80, that we only went about 75 coming home on the interstate. That definitely helped to keep it up. So we did about 600 miles. This is the distance from here to Yellowstone and back. So we did about 550 miles roughly in the Yellowstone area at slow speeds, and that is what kept that average up pretty high. Another thing I did, I pretty much controlled the HVAC system myself. I had it on auto once in a while, but I also either controlled it in a way that I just turned off the AC and switched it to external air by making sure this here is off, and then turned the fan up some to just create some airflow, and that feels cool, especially if it's not very hot outside. Even if it's in the low 70s, it will still feel kind of cool unless you have a lot of sun, because sun just heats up the car really fast. And if you look at this, we have climate settings 3%. It's only this little sliver right there. The rest went to driving and accessories, 97%. So by turning off the climate control, because it was not really needed. So like I said, we used the fan at times, and the fan, as it's blowing at you, this is kind of like a wind chill, and it makes you feel cool and comfortable. If the temperature is not too hot outside and the sun is not shining directly on the car, so if it's a little cloudy-ish, or you're driving through the forest, kind of like in Yellowstone where we quite frequently were shaded some, this worked really great. I also tried turning it off completely, and that worked as well, and just lowering the windows like an inch, just like this much, maybe somewhere around there, just one window at a time, and sometimes both front windows, just like that. So this created a little airflow, and while we were going max of 45 miles an hour in the park, this worked great as well. And a couple times while we were still plugged in somewhere, we would cool the car down with the air conditioning real quick, or if it was cool out, we heated it up. And while we were plugged in, so that we would use the power directly from the charger rather than use it from the battery, which helped to keep our range up as well. So these are all the little things you can do, but me controlling the HVAC system brought it down quite a bit. The weather was in favor of doing so, definitely. I mean, if it's extremely cold or extremely hot, you really don't have much of a choice, because you don't want to have the windows open at higher speeds anyway, or at higher temperatures. It's really not going to help much. So, but for this trip, it worked out great. And if you watched our video about the trip to Flathead Lake, you've seen that we used 9% for climate control. And the 9% for climate control is about the same amount, or the same percentage, that we used in the wintertime. And that was kind of scary to me. So that's why on this trip, I tried to control the climate settings myself rather than setting it just to auto. And I definitely saved quite a bit. So the auto setting is not really the most efficient. The manual says like the auto setting is the most efficient besides turning it completely off. I think it says something like that. But it says definitely that if you control your settings, it will not be as efficient as on auto. But I think I disagree, because there is settings like just setting it to external fresh air rather than recirculation, and turn the blower up while it's maybe still a little cool out. You can definitely save some if you set it to auto during that time. It will kick in the AC and even the heater, kind of depending on outside temperature and sun load, and you actually will use more power for climate settings then if you know kind of what you're doing, it's really not hard to figure out. I mean, you just want to be somewhat comfortable. So I think the climate control tries to achieve a perfect number of temperature and humidity inside the cabin, but our bodies actually don't necessarily feel that perfect number. We have sometimes a number stuck in our mind where we like to set things to, but like 68 degrees in the house is not the same 68 degrees in the car. So sometimes you have to set the number different to feel comfortable. So it's more about feeling comfortable rather than achieving a certain number. But the car tries to achieve a certain number, and I think is wasting some energy doing so, because this number that we're trying to achieve, we could probably be plus minus 5 degrees and not notice a difference. As well as with humidity, we probably could be a few percent up or down and not really notice the difference. Also, humidity can be leveraged as a temperature control kind of thing. So higher humidity makes you usually feel hotter, sweatier kind of deal, while lower humidity makes you feel more comfortable or cooler in a way, especially during the summertime. So that could be a few percent off either way, and the temperature's a few degrees off either way, and we would still feel comfortable, and the car probably could use less energy to do so rather than what it is doing right now. We did a lot of miles in the past few days, and but it was a good trip. Our car has been pretty loaded. You can see all this stuff in here. We have 2 camping chairs, an ice chest, we have a large tent. We brought some pillows, other food, 2 backpacks for going backpacking, all the camera equipment. The trunk is full too, and it was all for 2 people. And so we loaded this up pretty good. We're going to drive the Bolt over the scales, so we'll know how heavy it is. $2,200 on the front axle. $4,140 total. And $1,940 on the rear axle. There we go. That's the weight in pounds of the Chevy Bolt with 2 people and stuff in it. Good. And I think the car did overall pretty darn good with this load of stuff, and we still had the front here to sit comfortably. So it's not like we had to slide the seats forward or anything. We were able to fit all this stuff inside the car. No roof rack, no trailer. We've seen lots of people with roof racks or these bags that you set straight on the roof during our trip. We've seen those. For us, we got it all in here, and actually right now for the way home, we didn't pack up as nicely as we did when we left. We didn't even roll up the tent and stuff it back in the bag. We didn't put all the sleeping bags back in the stuffy bags where we could suck them down to minimal size, and it still fit all in here just fine. So there is quite a lot of room for 2 people to travel. This car works great. If you are 3 or 4 people, then you need to come up with another solution. So you probably have to put some stuff on the roof, which will affect the range quite a bit, I would assume. Even though we did a video with our Tesla Model 3 where we had a box on the roof going to Island Park, and then coming back we had a picnic bench open on the roof, and it was interesting to see. The box used a lot of energy, the picnic table a lot less energy. If you're interested in seeing that video, I'm going to put a link here at the top. It will also be down in the description if the link doesn't pop up on the screen. But that was kind of interesting to see. So possibility, if there is more than 2 people traveling in a Bolt, you need something on the roof. And not sure how it will affect the range, but it will definitely affect the range some. So now we gotta get started with unloading the car and unloading our stuff and getting back to normal, I guess. Life at home. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up for this video. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified when we got another video coming out. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.